Good morning. My name is Todd Raspberry. I serve as the Vice President for Philanthropy and External Relations and Executive Director of the West Texas A&M University Foundation. It's my privilege to welcome you to Legacy Hall and the Jack B. Kelly Student Center on the campus of West Texas A&M University for a historic and important announcement as part of the One West campaign. I want to begin by introducing our guests this morning who are part of our announcement. And Judy, we're going to start with you. Judy, would you stand? Judy Fugate. And joining Judy today are family members. Are there family here? If you would stand. And I bet everybody stands when I say her friends joining her. If you're friends of Judy, stand and let us greet you today. Also in the room for today's announcements are both former and current Lady Buff athletes. If you are a Lady Buff athlete, would you please stand and let us recognize you, former or current? I notice there are a bunch of guys standing at the back too. That's all right. You will hear more about Judy and why today's announcement is so important to her and to the university. But first, I would like to introduce members of the One West Campaign Leadership Committee. Jim J. Brewer and Leah McLean, Cheryl and Alex Fairley, Terry and Dyke Rogers, and Sherry and David Schaefer. Let us thank them for their leadership in the campaign. We have with us today members of the WT administration, faculty and staff, as well as students, members of the WT Foundation Board of Directors, and Buffalo Club members. Thank you for joining us today also. I'll now introduce those who will address you in the order that they'll be speaking. Dyke Rogers, co-chair of the Campaign Leadership Committee. Dr. Walter V. Wendler, 11th President of West Texas A&M University. Michael McBroom, WT Athletic Director. And Coach Kendra Potts, Lady Buff volleyball coach and former WT Lady Buff athlete, class of 04, right? Yeah. All right. Great universities share at least three things in common. Outstanding coaches and faculty who lead and teach our students by offering exceptional educational experience and also conduct important research in our region. A compelling vision of identity as an institution of higher education that can lead boldly into the future. And generous philanthropic support from donors. A fourth thing this great university has is an outstanding student-athlete program that recruits, retains, and graduates athletes who consistently compete for conference and national rankings and titles in their respective sports. Go Buffaloes! Today, it's my privilege and honor to announce as part of the One West campaign a gift of $1,850,000 from Judy Fugate to establish the Judy Fugate Lady Buff Scholarship Endowment and Lady Buffs Athletics Fund at West Texas A&M University. Thank you, Judy. Judy didn't want to do this today. She's doing it because it's important for us in this university. So thank you, Judy. Judy's gift, when fully funded, will ensure scholarships are available annually for top female athletes at WT. Beginning in the fall, one student from each women's sport will receive a Judy Fugate scholarship. Additionally, Judy's gift will support women's athletics programs. More will be said from the speakers about the gift, its impact, and the vision it helps fulfill. But first, who is Judy Fugate? Judy retired from Pantex after a 30-year career. She also told me she taught for a couple of years and decided Pantex sounded like a good deal. Bless her. Growing up in Pampa, Judy's parents and other community members taught her the value of supporting others and giving. Values which she obviously embodies as exemplified by her gift today. As a loyal alumni, Judy and Sissy are regulars in the stands of the Lady Buff volleyball, basketball, and softball games, and have supported student athletes in many different ways. Today's gift is a continuation of their support. Judy's gift was motivated in part by her experience in the 1960s and 70s as a Lady Buff, when women athletes were doubly dedicated because not only did they have to endure the academic and athletic rigors of other athletes, they also had to organize, fund, and find teams with whom to compete. One could argue that at the time, more was demanded from women athletes. Thank you for your perseverance and all of you Lady Buffs who were participants with her at that time. Today's announcement coincides with the 50th anniversary of landmark U.S. legislation known as Title IX, intended to create gender equal access and quality in athletic programs at federally funded educational institutions. Judy, allow me to direct your attention to the screens for a special thank you video.
You know, at WT, for us, every student's important, every athletic program is important, and no program is above the other. And Judy's gift kind of personifies that and supports that, in that every single program, every single athlete on our women's teams will benefit from her gift.
It just made me kind of go back to where it all began for female athletes at WT, and she's a trailblazer.
I knew that scholarships and college was like what I wanted to do, and that was the end goal. I wanted to go to college, and the only way I was going to be able to get there was with a scholarship of some kind.
We're competing with top-notch programs all over the country, so scholarships provide us a way to be able to get those special people, those special athletes, to consider us. It's a difference maker.
I think scholarships open such an amazing door for student athletes. Maybe it's the sport, maybe it's the coach or the program that draws them to WT, but once they get here they have this built-in family. And I love those relationships, and that just wouldn't happen without scholarships.
You know, Title IX was 1972, but the Panhandle's always embraced women's athletics.
It's been amazing to be here at WT for over 25 years, and so I've seen a lot of growth over that time, and one of my favorite areas I've seen grow tremendously is the equality within women's sport.
For Title IX, for me, at first as a student athlete, I probably didn't realize, playing 20 years ago, I didn't realize all the things that happened in order for us to be able to be where we were. Full schedules, fully funded, being able to travel, being able to compete at the highest level. I think I would be a little naive to understand really what they went through, from taking their own cars to compete in games and buying their own uniforms. Today, I think people would think that was crazy. I'm very thankful to Judy. I'm very thankful for the women that have supported us, and just thank you so much for setting such a great example for all of us here at WT.
You know, Title IX has been an incredible empowerment opportunity for women, and I'm thankful that the Texas Panhandle has embraced that, and our fans and boosters and donors have embraced that, and it's made us who we are today. When you have someone like Judy Fugate, who is in the community and starts to attend our games and get to know our coaches and athletes, and then decides to do something pretty incredible to support women's athletics here. A gift like what Judy has done will ensure that the sustained success that we've had in women's athletics will continue.
I'm here, and I think that scholarships just gave me that sense of hope and that like I could actually do it and my dreams could actually come true. So I just wanted to say thank you for this donation and the gift that you've given us. It's going to help so many girls have that feeling of safety and like secure that they can actually make it.
Judy, through the One West campaign and gifts like yours, WT is committed as the Panhandles University to partnering with families to make an educational experience affordable. Judy, thank you for being a former Lady Buff athlete, for your support of Lady Buff athletics, and for your gift to create scholarships and program support for generations of Lady Buff athletes. I want to invite forward Dyke Rogers.
Thank you, Todd. West Texas A&M University is the Panhandles University, and as such is committed through the long-range plan WT-125 from the Panhandle to the world to serving locally first by addressing the opportunities and issues of the people of our region as a regional research university. Today's announcement of $1.8 million is part of the fundraising campaign that announced a public goal to raise $125 million to fuel the vision cast in the long-range plan. The One West campaign represents the largest and most ambitious fundraising effort ever undertaken across the Texas Panhandle region. The One West campaign is comprehensive, which means that any gift to anything at WT counts in the campaign. We want donors to give to areas about which they are most passionate. The One West campaign has 3 funding priorities. Our first priority is people, through support for students and faculty. Second is programs, both existing and new programs developed to enhance the academic mission. The third priority is places, which are essential to the educational and athletic mission of WT. We are well on our way to achieving the goal of $125 million, which was publicly announced last September. Today's gift announcement brings us even closer to that goal. I'm kind of getting used to coming down here on Tuesdays, and we need to keep that going this way. On behalf of the Campaign Leadership Committee, we want to thank Judy for investing in WT athletic programs by establishing scholarships for Lady Buffs. Thank you, Judy. The growth and continued success of WT is due in part to the investment of individual donors, foundations, businesses, and the community who support in many different ways the mission of WT. We thank you for your generous and financial contributions. Judy, I can only imagine the challenges that you and many other Lady Buffs faced in order to compete. Thank you for your dedication, perseverance, not only then, but now as you set an example for others to follow through your generous gift. I would now like to invite President Wendler to the podium.
Thank you, Terry and Dyke, for your leadership in this most important venture. I almost said adventure, and it is an adventure. There's so many things going on, and it's remarkable to be part of it and watch it at the same time. It's absolutely incredible to be part of something larger than yourself, and this is it. WT is it. Judy, thank you for working to find someone that had a car and could take teams to games. We appreciate that. You scraped together enough money to buy uniforms. And we thank you for continuing to exhibit pride and support in your alma mater, the Panhandles University, West Texas A&M. We're proud of it. As Todd said, philanthropic support is the difference between good universities and great universities. WT, we will all agree, is a great university. I talk a lot about the values of West Texas and Panhandle values like hard work, personal responsibility, and rugged individualism, a toughness, a kind of grit. Sometimes I say spit, but that's what it is, and that's West Texas. And Judy, thank you for reminding us today how you embodied such values along with many other female athletes in order to compete in collegiate athletic competition. It's remarkable, it's laudable, and it's something that all of us take great pride in. Your loyalty to WT by giving back is seed corn for others, and we are thankful for it. Our intention is for every athlete that comes to WT to have the opportunity to grow physically, academically, and in our community. Providing student athletes such opportunity only happens through generous philanthropic support of individuals and organizations. This past fall, the overall GPA for student athletes was above 3.0 for the first time in the fall semester, I believe. And that comes from leadership on the court, the field, the pitch, whatever it is, and in the classrooms. And our athletic staff, our coaches, starting with Michael McBroom as our director of athletics, it starts there. And we emphasize collectively the importance of this two-part experience: academic excellence and athletic excellence. These two things work together like a hand in a glove, and they make a program like ours sing. And I would like to recognize Michael McBroom and the coaches and staff that make all this possible. Let's give them a round of applause. And 199 student athletes, which is 45% of the total student athlete population, earn GPAs of 3.3 or higher, and were named to the Lone Star Conference Academic Honor Roll. This is a tremendous accomplishment. I remember the first time that I received a GPA of 3.0. I was at Texas A&M. I transferred there from a community college in New York. I played a little hockey at the community college. Wasn't very good, but I was big. For a hockey player, I was very big back then. And I called my dad the second semester I was there and said, "Dad, I made the dean's list. I needed a 3.0 to do that." And my father, who had never experienced college in any way, was smart enough to ask, "Which list?" Takes a while. You have to think about that one. Graduation rates for student athletes are also at an all-time high, up 17.3% over the past 15 years to 61%. That's ahead of the general student population. And it shows that the discipline of intercollegiate athletics and other kinds of extracurricular activities actually adds to, rather than subtracts from, the intellectual experience, the academic experience that our student athletes have. But again, it comes from the leadership of the intercollegiate athletics staff. Coaches, staff members constantly push out in front of our student athletes what's important. And it pays. It pays. Pays for them and for us. Smart students make good athletes, as proven by the consistent conference and national titles won. During the 21-22 season thus far, WT teams have, and I probably should leave this for Michael McBroom, but he's very humble and wouldn't brag like this, but I can. They've won 6 out of 14 available Lone Star Conference team championships, 14 Lone Star Conference individual championships and titles, and 3 NCAA individual national championships. All this from Canyon, Texas. Today, West Texas A&M ranks as the number 4 overall athletic program out of 311. We're number 4 out of 311 Division II intercollegiate athletics programs. This could end up being our 10th straight as best in Texas, and 9 out of 10 years as a top 10 program in the NCAA Division II program. This is not happenstance. It's the result of hard work, continued dedication, and a commitment to excellence that serves individuals and the institution alike, and in turn serves our community, which I think is a wonderful thing. I would say that WT's come a long way since 1972. As a matter of fact, when I was reminded, and I've been reminded a few times recently, that this is the 50th anniversary of Title IX, it's also the 50th anniversary of my graduation from Texas A&M University. Kind of wish it was West Texas A&M, but it's Texas A&M University, which 50 years ago. You can do the arithmetic. Judy, I hope you're proud of the athletic tradition and legacy of which you are, in many ways, a founding part. Thank you again for supporting the academic mission of WT through Our Lady Buff programs. Now it is my pleasure and honor to invite to the podium WT's athletic director, Michael McBroom.
Thank you, Dr. Windler. You guys back there, did we get all that taped? That last 5 minutes, my annual reviews in about a month and a half, I'm going to need that. Judy, I have to say, you were such an inspiration, not only for today's gift, but the example you set for alumni everywhere, the perseverance that you personify on the early days when things were so difficult for women trying to compete in athletics in college. And you're just an inspiration to all of us. And so thank you very much. The gift that's been announced today was so beautifully thought out and constructed, and it will help ensure that we can continue to provide our Lady Buffs opportunities to compete on the national level and opportunities that were almost non-existent when you were in school, except for that one you told me. We had somebody who qualified for nationals and figured out a way to get her to that national competition, which is so cool. But beyond your gift, I want to say how important it is and how impactful it is to have you and Sissy in the stands cheering on our Lady Buffs all the time. And that to us is as important as your gift today, and it means so much to those girls. So thank you for that as well. I know you wouldn't. From my perspective as an athletic director, Title IX is one of the most important and impactful pieces of legislation in our lifetime. It signaled the start of a new era of opportunities for women in athletics, with greater access to scholarships and funding. It didn't happen overnight, but 1972 was the start. Cindy Barnes, you know that too. As a result, talented female athletes were able to use their athletic ability to earn partial scholarships to help defray the costs of their education. It's a noble pursuit and is the primary purpose of college athletics, and a purpose that we at West Texas A&M still aspire to and support today. Judy Fugate is helping to ensure those opportunities will continue in the future for ladies to use their athletic ability to help fund a part of their education. I'm very grateful that WT and the Texas Panhandle have embraced women's athletics in a genuine fashion with sincere appreciation and a keen desire to see excellence on the fields and in the courts. The real seeds for what we have today were planted by the likes of Aline Stovall, Marianne Hill, not to mention coaches throughout the Panhandle in places like Nazareth and Plainview and Canyon, Pampa. They planted those seeds in the 1960s, and in 1972, Title IX mandated the seeds be watered and fertilized regularly so that they had a chance to grow. Here, they've grown. By the mid-1980s, WT had fully embraced NCAA women's athletics and began awarding scholarships to attract top female athletes to campus. They came from the Texas Panhandle, to be sure, but also from the country and across the world. Victories and championships soon followed, with the women's basketball program making its first Elite Eight appearance in 1987, and our volleyball program winning the first of 3 national championships in 1990. Our investment in women's athletics has only continued, but it felt like we really hit the gas in the early 2000s, and we haven't looked back. Women's golf, women's soccer, softball, and track teams were added. More victories and championships have followed, and in fact, I think as a great tribute to Title IX, He says I don't brag. I'm going to brag on this one for just a second. Over the last 12 months, every single one of our women's teams has been ranked in the top 20, some number one, at some point in the last 12 months, and I think that's remarkable. Judy, you're ensuring that success and opportunities for women in athletics at WT will continue in perpetuity and provide the only compensation that truly matters in college athletics, scholarship assistance that helps defray the cost of a student athlete's education. The end result will be future generations of empowered and educated women, women like you and all of the Lady Buffs that are here today, who will continue to make our communities, our state, and our country better in the future. You are their champion in more ways than one, and we thank you deeply. And now I think it's important to turn it over to someone who's living proof of how college athletics is at first a dream, then a reality, and then a career. She was once a young girl growing up in Amarillo. She wanted to play volleyball like her sister, and as it turns out, she and her sister were pretty dang good volleyball players for us. Fortunately for us, I think she's turned out to be a better coach than she was as a player. And if you ever saw her play, that's saying something. Please welcome Kendra Potts, our head volleyball coach.
I want to make sure I close this out right because I couldn't help but get a little emotional watching the video, seeing all the love and support that you have here, Judy, just because it's people like you is the reason why we're able to do what we do today as female athletes, coaches, the support systems we have. But I got to wind it all the way back to when you were here. And like Dr. Windler was saying, the grit, the spit, I like that one, I'm stealing it. But just the hard work and the blue collar work ethic that nothing's given, we earn. And the irony behind it is that you worked for everything you got, from the road trip that you had to take to compete, to the uniform on your back, to the food that you ate, to the 4 people in a hotel room at once, with still a smile on your face when you tell us the story today. You earned that, and then today you're giving us this generous gift. So if that's not the perfect example of servant leadership, just go back and talk to Judy and have a couple stories shared by her to see really what she walked through, what she did for us to be where we are today. And so I know we've said thank you, but thank you. Thank you. So again, sorry I'm getting emotional, but it's amazing. I feel super fortunate and grateful to be able to have somebody like you be an example for all of us. From the young athletes still competing today, getting to talk to Gabby while we were doing this whole thing celebrating you, I look at young athletes, I don't even coach her, and I'm just like, man, she's gonna do big things. And it's because you paved it. I got to be a young girl watching WT volleyball growing up, and I just saw how hard they worked, and winning didn't come easy, but they found a way to do it. I have to believe it was because people they watched before, and then they watched before, and then the people they watched before. And so Judy, it starts with you and the coaches you had. And so your legacy lives on today, and I'm gonna make sure, and I think all of us here are gonna make sure we keep paying it forward. In your name, and also the other women sitting here that helped pave this way. You are all trailblazers, and I want to make sure we're paying it forward. I don't think people make generous donations like this, without a lot of thought in mind. And one thing that always comes to mind whenever we play sports is the joy that these student athletes bring us. I'd say it all the time. My team thank you for putting smiles on our faces whenever, the last 2 years have been pretty dark for us, right? And the joy you guys bring, and the stories we get to share, and the celebrations we get to see from team to team all through the years, again, it goes back to the people that work so hard to allow us to do it today. I'm going completely off my speech. I haven't even started reading what I put on paper yet. But it's just heartfelt, and it's so special that that things that started in the 70s, 60s, and like you were saying, Judy, when Title IX finally passed in 1972, it wasn't perfect. It took a long time for budgets and funding to be able to be available for it to be where we are today. And so for the patience and the endurance that all the females before us showed for us to be able to have what we have today and continue growing our sports, again, thank you. So I'll finally start reading. I want to thank Judy for being one of the many women in the 60s and 70s that paved the way for female sports, not just in this area, but all over the country. I believe it's because of you and your teammates and the coaches you had that women's sports are where they are today. There's no doubt that your dedication, fight, grit still shows today in our athletes. It is our mission to make sure these athletes understand who came before them. We make sure we talk about that all the time. Who came and why you have what you have today. And this is another great example that we get to see. There are many types of donors. There are donors that donate their time. They donate physical labor, their ability to cook an amazing meal that we all get to enjoy, and by monetary support. Judy donates in every way to this university and athletic department. Yes, you're making a beautiful financial contribution today, but you still donate with your time, your love, your support, all of that. And to me, that just speaks volumes of who you are. Judy, your impact on our athletes and your generous donation today is a perfect example of servant leadership, like I said earlier. We have a physical example of what it looks like through you, and we are grateful. Thank you.
Before we end, if you are a Lady Buff, current or in the past, I'd like you to come right over here and stand, please. I know you don't want to move, but please do. Judy? Darcy, where are you? We're going to get a picture of them in a moment. So that means, Judy, I need you in the front. Kendra, that's you. That includes coaches. If you're a coach of one of the women's sports, you're obviously a Lady Buff. So now to make this work, I need you to pile in. Judy, I need you to take 4 steps forward. Hey, Judy.
Sarah Rainer, she's standing next to Amber. Sarah Darcy, if you need me, I'll get pushed in.
So, Judy, I need you to come out to the front. So, we typically do this after we dismiss you, but I want everyone in this room to see what generations of Lady Buffs together have accomplished for us, and we're putting Judy right in the middle.
She's in the front.
In the front, that's right. So you have to look over here. If you'll look over here at the stage, Darcy is going to take your photograph. So be patient for just a second. Hey, we need our mascot at the back in there, please.
All right, everybody. Tight squeeze, but I think we got it. Y'all ready? Looking right here. In 3, 2, 1. Got it.
Now don't go anywhere. Let's thank them. All right, one more.
One more with your buffs up, guys. All right. Ladies. Ready? Everybody right here in 3, 2, 1. Got it.
That does conclude today's press conference. Thank you for coming. We're going to do media interviews right over here. So if the media would like to go ahead and make their way, we will start that in just a moment.
Thanks, Darcy. Appreciate it. Yeah, I want to get the